Welcome, welcome everyone, and thank you for that amazing little music to get us all going. We will be recording the session, so don't worry, you can share this afterward with everyone. I'm Nikki, one of the co-founders of the social gastronomy movement, and I'm really excited to open today's session, putting hope on the menu. I always like to kick off our sessions, our webinars or roundtables with a little quote. So I'd like us, for those that feel comfortable, it's very short, close your eyes or just listen actively. There is freedom waiting for you on the breezes of the sky. And you ask, what if I fail? Oh, but my darling, what if you fly? So this quote is by Erin Hansen, and let's keep that close to our minds and hearts as we go through this beautiful session. So great thank you for Joy from the social gastronomy movement that was coordinating and holding the space to make this happen, to Adrian, to Chris, and to Nicolas, that you'll hear about a little bit more further down the line, who have been co-creating this important topic with us. And hopefully this is just the beginning of a beautiful journey to bring this important topic to the world. I think we can put on the slides now to run us through the agenda. 1 minute, good. And I'm seeing some interaction with chat already. It'd be great if you start putting in the chat where you're calling in from, just to have an understanding where people in the room are from and who you are, whatever you want to share with the group as well. So there's loads, so there will be loads of interaction. Great, so today's agenda actually is going to be very tight, but hopefully, again, this is just the beginning. We have our quick introduction, the welcome. I will be giving just a few facts about the global context. Then we're going to go deeper into workforce reintegration in practice, hospitality training for returning citizens. Chris is going to talk about the Clink from the UK, Nicolas from Cookmaster and Creer in Argentina. Adrian is going to talk about Mack Enterprises and the reality in the US. And then we're having a special contribution as well on the farm table from Deandra, that's from Don Bites, and calling in from the US as well. And that we all become active. We're going to break into rooms to go a little deeper on the conversation where each of the speakers that spoke before are going to hold the space to share experiences, to learn with each other, and to look for that spark of hope that we need on the menu. Afterward, we're just coming back into the main room to harvest all these inspirations, and then we'll do a closing and a closing. All right, so I've been first introduced. If we can move the slide. Thank you. Well, we already introduced our wonderful speakers, so you can go to the next. Great. I was introduced to this important topic of reintegration by Chris actually many years back, and I am in shock because 10.3 million people are incarcerated around the world. I think this is, a number that's not only shocking, but it's also a growing number. And one of the populations that is growing is the female population that's growing in incarceration. So this is something that we don't talk about. Whereas nowadays, we still have a population of 94% of men and 6% of women, which in the last 20 years have been growing over 20%. One number that's, this number basically represents the size of Greece. If we can move to it's about the population of Greece, Sweden, Jordan, and London. And one of the numbers that for me is the most shocking one, and obviously there are local realities that are different, but it's the reoffending rate. 77% of people released from prisons reoffend. And for me, that is a number that must change. And it's simple to change. That's what you're going to hear about from our wonderful guests. The solutions are there. And sometimes when you leave incarceration, you come and you're just looking for a stable home, for a stable job. However, in our society, we're not giving these opportunities. So this being said, a quick introduction on the social gastronomy movement for those that don't know. We're a global network of more than 150 organizations, activists, chefs around the world that all believe in the transformative power of food, but we're going to talk about in this context as well. We're all working together towards a more equitable and just food system, and in the different spaces just across the entire food cycle. So anyways, this being said, I want to hand over to Chris Moore, that's calling in from the UK. Chris, again, was the first person that brought this topic very close to my heart. I actually visited a lot of the restaurants and prisons that the Clink Charity is hosting. So it was a great experience, and I look forward, Chris, to hearing from you now.
You're on mute, Chris. Sorry. We couldn't hear you. You're on mute.
Ah, it helps if I click the mute button. Well done, Joy. Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'll start again. Thank you, Nikki, for your introduction. And this afternoon, we'd like to really spend a few minutes just talking about what's going on in the UK, taking those global facts and bringing them local for a minute. So today's challenge in the UK is there are 80,000 adults in the prison system, men and women, and it costs around 39,000 a year. But the big challenge, again, as we saw in the global figures, is the reoffending rate. 48% of men and women return to prison within the first 12 months of release. A lot of this has to do with not having a bed, not having a job, and not having friends and family to support you. And if they served sentences less than 12 months, that goes up to 65. And it's a big figure to the taxpayer of 18.1 billion a year, reincarcerating people returning into prison. And effectively, if you're released from prison and you've got no job, no bed, no friends and family, why wouldn't you want to go back to prison? You can have a bed, 3 meals a day and a television. If we go on to the next slide, Joy. So what is, back one, sorry. What is the Clink? We call it this social gastronomy, and we've got the Clink is linked up of 5 segments. It's a charity, it's a catering college, it's a restaurant, it's a reintegration service, and it is in the business of sustainability, not only with regards to farming, but also sustainability of people, taking broken people and making them whole. In our restaurants, we have 4 fine dining restaurants that are built in the heart of prisons. We'll go to the next slide, Joe. And they're kitted out as a fine dining restaurant, and we've got all the latest equipment and technology there, and students volunteer to be trained in their last 6 to 18 months of their sentence and work and train to gain their qualifications. But in the restaurants, I would like to think we're also training the members of the public, and each year around 100,000 members of the public dine in our restaurants, and we help them understand that the prison population is just a cross-section of society like you or I, and if we were there, we would like a second chance as well. Everything's made from scratch. The men and women are classically trained, so when they leave us, they can go out into top-class restaurants as well as high street restaurant chains, and are a credible solution to the skills shortage that we have. We also have 3 gardens projects, and where in the prisons we train the men and women in horticulture. We grow our own vegetables, our own salad, we keep chickens, and all that produce comes into the restaurants as well. We seem to be a bit out of sync on our slides slightly, but the Clink Events is our event catering arm, where we're making food in prison, and then that's been served by homeless clients in top London venues. And we're training them to get their qualifications and place them into work before potentially they could go down the wrong route, which may lead to a custodial sentence. And our last training project is Clink Kitchens, and this is a new project we've just started this year. In the last 3 months, we've rolled out to 12 new sites, and we have another 58 planned before the end of next year. And this is putting a chef trainer in an existing prison kitchen, training them up to gain their qualifications, and then get them support upon release to find accommodation and employment. So in total, we have 16 training locations around the country. On the next slide, Joey, we have the Clink 5-step program. The big difference with the Clink is that it's one organization delivering training on the inside and supporting on the outside. Our students volunteer to be trained, and we call that the first step of recruitment. We then train them to gain their academic qualifications, but also they're learning their social skills. So getting out of bed, combing your hair, putting on a cleanly pressed uniform, and learning to work as part of a team. We then support them through that learning. Some of them struggle with reading and writing. We'll come alongside them and help them. And then employment is absolutely key. In the UK at the moment, we have 188,000 vacancies in the hospitality industry. So we're confident if we have highly trained individuals, we can place them into work. And we now have over 280 employers, all willing to take Clink graduates subject to a satisfactory interview. But the final stage, mentoring, is the key bit. This is where we meet our students at the gate on the day of release. We take them to the workplace, we find them accommodation, and we're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to help them readjust back into society. And by doing that, we can reduce the chances of them reoffending by 65.6%. And this is a game changer. So we are very confident that we can take these young men and women, train them up to gain their skills, and then they will get jobs and not go back to prison. We've had several bits of research. The Justice Data Lab did some research looking at rates of reoffending, and the rate from 2009 to 2016 on the next slide, Joy, takes us from 15% to 22%, which is the 31%. So if we whiz through to the third slide from the end, called Justice Data Lab. And then onto the next slide, we have pro bono economics, where we're talking about for every pound of money that we've invested of philanthropic funds, how much we save the government. And to date, by investing £5 million in philanthropic funds, we've saved the government £37 million on incarceration costs. So if we can whiz through the slides, Joy, to the end. So the Clink is set up to break the mold of reoffending, to help people reintegrate back into society and repair society, which ultimately reduces crime. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris. And actually now we are going to move with Nicholas, but we had a problem with our Zoom and we'll have to do simultaneous translations. So we have here Fernando with us. So Nicholas will do his presentation in Spanish and Fernando will do the translation for you. Thank you.
Joy, is there a channel to call is it simultaneous or is there a channel for it?
It's at the same time. I can change it right now.
Okay, great. Well, so Nicolas, I actually met many years ago in Argentina in our very first social gastronomy movement brainstorming we had together. And I was really impressed with the work. And I'm so inspired because some of the work that Nicolas is going to present today as well, when it comes to the restaurants, was inspired by the Clink. So I'm very excited to hear, and their work is growing every day. So Nicolas, with no further ado, floor is yours. Muchas gracias y palabra es la tuya.
Muchas gracias, Nicola. Hola a todos. Gracias por este espacio. La verdad que con Nicola nos conocimos en Buenos Aires hace 3 años y pudimos disfrutar en ese momento que no había pandemia de exquisiteces que habían hecho en uno de los restaurantes de Buenos Aires. Ojalá vuelva esa situación, ¿no? No tengamos que seguir a través de esta pantalla. Así que...
Solo un instante, Nicolás, para que Fernando tenga tiempo para hacer la traducción.
Thank you very much. I met Nicola in Buenos Aires some years ago, and I'm happy to be here.
Mi nombre es Nicolás. Yo soy director ejecutivo de una empresa que se llama Cookmaster. Cookmaster es una empresa que se dedica a buscar soluciones y transformar sistemas de alimentación en comunidades complejas. Las cárceles entendemos que son una de esas comunidades y allí estamos trabajando hace 10 años.
My name
Te quiero
is Nicolas. I am the executive director of Cookmaster, a company that look for solutions. And one of these solutions are applied in prisons, and we are working with that 10 years ago.
Quiero detenerme ahora y si ustedes me permiten, quiero contarles una historia, que es la historia de David, que es una historia que a nosotros en Cookmaster nos significó mucho y transformó la historia de lo que ahora es el programa Creer.
I want to stop now and I want to tell you the story of David. It's a story very important for Cookmaster and it was important for the program Creer.
David es un chico que a los 13 años entró a un instituto de menores, un instituto cerrado de menores, porque había tenido problemas de delitos en la calle y estaba sin familia.
David is a guy that when he was 13 years old, he went to an institute for prison for young people, and because he committed several offenses and he had no family.
Después de haber transitado durante 7 años, haber estado en prisión, uno de los responsables de David, un ministro del desarrollo social del gobierno, se puso en contacto con nosotros para pedirnos si David podía ingresar a trabajar en nuestra empresa, ya que él había estudiado la carrera de licenciatura en seguridad e higiene, y que para ellos era muy importante la experiencia de que un chico que había estado en prisión y salía a los 19 años pudiera incorporarse en una empresa para poder trabajar y no tener que volver a delinquir para poder sobrevivir, ¿no es cierto?
David, after 7 years in prison, we received a call of Minister of Social Development, and he asked if he could enter to our company in order to work, because he had studied security and hygiene when he was in prison. So when he was 19 years old, they called us in order to David go to our company to work and not commit more offenses.
Imagínense los prejuicios en ese momento de toda la estructura de Cookmaster, de todas las personas, se pusieron al frente nuestro y empezaron a formar muros entre lo que nos estaba pidiendo nuestro cliente y la función o el trabajo que nosotros no sabíamos cómo hacerlo. Es decir, poder incluir en la nómina de nuestra empresa, poder incluir una persona, un chico que había estado preso durante 7 años. Pero accedimos porque era nuestro cliente el que nos lo estaba pidiendo y entendimos que era una buena oportunidad de satisfacer sus necesidades.
So you have to imagine what happened in Cookmaster, all the barriers that started in that moment because of what our client was asking us. And it was very difficult to include this person in our staff, but we accepted because it was something that our client was asking us and it was important for us.
David ingresó a trabajar en Cookmaster felizmente, estuvo trabajando durante 7 meses y llegó el momento de la fiesta de fin de año, donde íbamos a festejar todos los logros del año, y David era uno de esos logros, que se haya podido incorporar. La fiesta se realizó, hubo muy buena gastronomía, también fue acompañada de muchos tragos, y David participó activamente de ese evento.
After 7 months, we had to commemorate the end of the year and all the achievements of that period. And David was one of those achievements. And he was one of the challenges that we had in that moment. And the celebration was very good for him.
La fiesta y la celebración terminaron, todos nos tuvimos que ir a nuestra casa en los colectivos que la empresa dispuso para tal cosa. Al lunes siguiente recibo los reportes de la directora de Recursos Humanos, donde me dicen, dentro de todas las noticias, era que habían tenido que despedir de la empresa a David porque había tenido problemas en el ómnibus y se había peleado con varias personas que estaban dentro del ómnibus. Entonces, para nosotros fue una gran sorpresa. ¿Por qué David se había peleado con toda esa gente? ¿Por qué le habíamos mandado la carta documento despidiéndolo si venía teniendo un desempeño bárbaro? Ahí empezó en nuestra empresa una discusión de cuáles eran los valores y cuáles eran las responsabilidades que como empresa teníamos hacia David. Y si David quedaba, lo despedíamos y quedaba en la calle, ¿a dónde iba a volver David? A la cárcel.
After the party and the celebration, all the staff went back home in the buses, the company of the company. And the next day, we received a communication from the Human Resources Department that said that David had to be fired because he fought with several people in the buses. And the question was, why did he act in that way? Why that happened? And it made us to make questions about the values and the problem that we were going to create if he was going to be fired because he was going to prison again.
Finalmente, David se quedó trabajando en Cookmaster. En Argentina tenemos 90.000 David. En Argentina tenemos el 60% de esas 90.000 personas menores de 35 años con problemas y con grandes barreras para el empleo. Aquí estamos dispuestos nosotros como sociedad, ¿no?, a mirar de lejos. El gobierno no puede resolver todos estos problemas. Tenemos que ser activos y tenemos que ocuparnos nosotros también como empresas y como sociedad civil a dar segundas oportunidades a las personas como David. No nos quedemos mirando de lejos y tratemos de ser parte de la solución. Gracias y disculpen por el tiempo, por la extensión. Chau.
Finally, David stayed working at the company. And in Argentina, we have 90,000 people like David that they have less than 30 years old, and they had several barriers that come from the government. And we as company and as social civil society, we have to be part of the solution and not of the problem. And we have to offer solutions for people like David. Thank you very much, and sorry for the time.
Thank you so much. Gracias, Nicolás. Truly inspiring. And yes, we all must and can be part of the solution. So I really liked those closing words. Going from the UK to Argentina. We're now coming back up to the United States. And I want to introduce both Adrian and Deandra, who are going to represent that local reality from New York, actually. And Adrian is a hospitality powerhouse and woman. So she was the first one that actually really imprinted in me as well. Let's look at those 6%, those growing 6% of women being incarcerated as well. And what happens to them after? So with no further ado, I'm handing over to Adrian, that's going to lead the conversation with Deandra.
I'm sitting here muted. Good morning and good afternoon and good evening, everyone around the world. I am so excited to be here today. Thank you so much. This is such a great partnership that we have with Social Gastronomic Movement. And I'm honored to share with you about anti-recidivism and ending people going back to prison and giving people the opportunity to flourish, grow, and start their own businesses. And so we're going to start a little bit talking about just a little bit of the work that we do here at Mack Enterprises. And then we'll go into, of course, one of our graduates and incredible young businesswomen and young budding hospitality leaders, Deandra Satal. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. All right, so everyone, this is Hope on the Menu. And this is such an important topic to me because in the United States, we have the largest population of imprisoned people, with the majority of them being African-American. Women make up only a very small percentage. So we have about 1.2 million men in prison. We have roughly 200,000 women in prison. Now, even though it's a very small amount compared to the men, the women's programs tend to lack. So while men's prisons have a lot more, programming, discipline, that's not, even like security, that's not really the case in women's prisons. Women are just kind of there to just sit and do their time. So there's not much programming, there's not much developing of the women. And so when they get out of prison and they become returning citizens to society, they lack the skill set to be able to obtain a good paying job. And of course, that's the same thing with men as well. The other disparity that we're seeing in the hospitality industry is that childcare is one of the biggest issues in hospitality industry. Meaning because the #1 hospitality worker in the United States are single mothers, many of them formerly incarcerated. And so I'm really excited about the partnership that we've developed with our partners at ROC. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that work. So this is me, guys. It's a little information about my company. You can scan my QR code and get all my information. But we basically help with hospitality recruitment of staff. We do staff development, so we offer them training. Then we also help the employers retain them. Because one of the biggest problems we're seeing right now in the hospitality industry, not only in New York City, but around the country, is that people do not want to go back to work. And that's because having a paycheck is not enough. And we have to be willing to develop our staff and also develop ourselves as leaders to understand how can we really meet our employees at their need, and also the community that we serve. And so when you're mindful of that, you want to have better engagement with the community, you want to hire locally, and you want to develop the staff. Because no matter what, the industry is such a great and open industry, and it does include everyone, but we have a long way to go when it comes to developing our staff. And that's one of the things that our returning citizens are dealing with, is that employers today are not like the employers from the 1950s or the 1970s. Even in the 1980s, there was still a little bit of training that was happening. Nowadays, you've got to come into work with experience, education, and that's hard to do if no one's offering that. So what my company does is that we provide those services for employers in all aspects of hospitality. So we don't just deal with restaurants, we also deal with hotels, travel, farmers, agriculture, everything from farm to table or farm to shelf, or staffing. We deal with every aspect of hospitality. And then we also do business strategy and community development. We find that a lot of businesses that love to come into communities like Harlem. Harlem is gentrified, and we have other parts of New York City and of course around the world that are being gentrified as we speak. And so when you have new companies coming into communities, they want to know how to best engage the community in a way that benefits the community, benefits the business, but also encourages economic empowerment. And so I've been able to do some of that work with Stella Artois, Anheuser-Busch, Mosaic, Marriott Renaissance Hotel, engaging the Harlem businesses and the community so that they can flourish with the economic opportunities that they were providing. Of course, we do corporate travel, so we'll be traveling to you as soon as the world opens all the way back up. And then we also offer virtual assistant services with our partners in the Philippines. So let's get into it. So I'm really excited that last year, we launched a virtual hospitality training with our partners in Rock, New York. And what was great about that is that this was something done, it was history in the making, because let me give you some background about Rock. Restaurant Opportunity Center New York started in 9/11, after the tragedy that happened with our World Trade Center. And with that, the hospitality workers that worked at the Restaurant of the World downtown, the workers were treated, they were not treated the same way as the finance district people were being treated. They weren't getting the benefits, they weren't getting funding. And if many of you do or do not know, a lot of the hospitality workers that work in the United States are usually undocumented, meaning that they're not citizens of the United States and potentially are here without a visa, which means illegal, which I don't like to use the word illegal. I feel like, you know, we're citizens of the world and we should be able to go to different countries if we can, but that means they're undocumented and they're most likely not here with a proper working visa. And so when you have those type of incidences happen, this population of people get ignored. They don't get the benefits that everyone else was getting. And so Rock United New York was created to advocate for the hospitality worker. With that being said, that included formerly incarcerated people returning citizens. That included immigrants who don't speak English. That included people who do not have the proper working visa to work. So Rock United was very dedicated to supporting all hospitality workers from all walks of life, from all levels of experience. And so I was honored when they asked me, because that's what I provide, obviously face-to-face, is training, but they said, can we do it virtually? And I said, absolutely. So we made history last year and we graduated close to 400 students throughout that 1 year period. And I'm happy to say that we partnered with Operation Hope, a national organization that provided financial literacy, which is a big problem in the United States. Many Americans live in debt. They live paycheck to paycheck. And when you're working in a industry such as the hospitality industry, where you work for tips, where the industry hasn't changed much in the United States based on enslavement, right? So hospitality started in this country, in the United States, through enslavement. The people who were servers, the people who were bartenders, the people who cooked, who were chefs, they were enslaved. And so the industry hasn't developed much since then. Pay is still very bad. In fact, tipping wages came from tipping out once slavery ended in the United States. That was a way to pay a formerly enslaved person their wage. They would just tip them money. They didn't actually ask for a salary. So when you look at the history of how the hospitality industry has not progressed that much, for the worker anyways, we want to make sure that we provided many opportunities for our participants, and financial literacy was one of them. And one of our other valuable partners was Cornell University. They provided table talks training that is about developing the hospitality leader, going beyond just giving jobs, but actually providing real opportunities. And of course, CHOW is the program in which that I connect my curriculum to. So I provide entry-level hospitality training, management in the hospitality industry, and also food entrepreneurship programming. And so because we were so successful last year, I'm excited and honored to say that with our partners, we were able to create a partnership with 4 more cities with the ROC affiliation. So ROC is in 10 cities nationwide, and I am working with 5 of them. So I'm really excited that I'm working with our partners, Michigan. Shout out to Mr. Lee, who is watching right now. Thank you so much for joining us today, all the way from Detroit. Also our partners in ROC Philly. So ROC Philadelphia will be getting started in August. We're in the middle of working with ROC New Orleans. So excited to have them as partners as well. And then ROC Chicago, which will be starting next month. So working with all 5 cities, New York, Michigan, New Orleans, Pennsylvania, Chicago, it has been very, very fruitful and beneficial to see the transformation of these young men and women become hospitality professionals. And also shout out to Orlando. I saw him log on there. He was our first plug. He was the one who connected me to Prabhu, who's the National Director of Training. And I'm very grateful for that introduction, Orlando. And thank you for being such a great leader in New York. So without further ado, I'm excited to share with you one of our fantastic graduates who not only went through our entry-level class in the beginning, progressed to the management class, and then graduated just recently from our food entrepreneurship program. Ladies and gentlemen, meet the incredible Don Diva herself, Deandra. Welcome, Deandra. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Good afternoon, morning,
I'm
everyone.
going to be interviewing her, asking a few questions. So Deandra is based here in New York City in the Bronx, and is an incredible young woman who is doing farm-to-table cuisine, helping to keep the hood healthy. So with that being said, Deandra, let's get into talking about a little bit personal about you. Introduce yourself. Tell us, who are you, and what made you start your business, Don Bites?
Hi, I'm Deandra. I'm the owner of Don Bites. And to be honest, food has always been a great connecting piece culturally for my family anyway. And so food was always kind of a part of me. But I actually started my business just people asking me to cook. And it just seemed like I love anything creative, put it that way. So food was just another form of stress relief. It was another form of organizing. It was another form of art. It was just another something else to keep me busy mentally and physically. And then it turned into so much more.
Excellent. So let's start with your journey. You were formerly incarcerated for a short time in your life. We all had those infractions. Some of us have made different mistakes in our life. Can you share a little bit about your story, about what led you into that troubled life? And then how did you make the decision to make a change in your life for the better?
To be honest, I've been through a lot of things that some people do know about, some people don't know about. And I think a lot of that unknown hurt, being sheltered, eventually just started to spew out the older I got in different forms, just being angry, mad, getting into a lot of crap, fights, doing things I shouldn't have done or that I knew better. And finally it all ended putting me in jail at some point.
Absolutely. In fact, statistics show that there are more women in jail. So first, probation, we have the largest amount of women on probation.
Which I started.
Yeah. And the large amount of women in the United States are on probation. Next, the large amount of women are in jail, right? Yep. So that's someone who probably spends about maybe, many of you may have heard of the famous Rikers Island here in New York, the infamous, I should say.
Yep. That was it.
Yeah, that's where you start. Maybe you have a 2 or 3 year bid. That's where you would go. Or if you have a longer bid, you would go to prison. Now, even though that's a smaller population of women, it's still detrimental because it destroys families. So your experience when you went to jail, what made you say enough is enough? I'm not going back.
honestly, once I made it to jail, because I've never really made it beyond the bookings, which is the processing area. I think once I made it to Rikers, it became more real. Like the worry, the scariness, the not knowing what's next. And because in there, you're literally living day by day, you know, because you don't know what's going to happen today or tomorrow. So many different personalities, so many different people with different mental levels of stability. So it's like so many different things. And then worrying about what's happening outside that you can't control. It just adds so much more stress to everything.
Awesome. Now, I'm incredibly excited that I met you through Rock. Deandra was one of my students who took the class through Rock, New York. Tell us, what brought you to Restaurant Opportunity Center in New York City?
To be honest, I kind of was already on a soul searching journey when I was released in 5/5/15, Cinco de Mayo. But after that day I got out, I really just was like, I had an epiphany, like, I don't want to do this. This is not what I see for myself. This is not where I need to go. So I did a lot of soul searching. And right when I felt like things would pick up, the pandemic hit. And that, honestly, you know, it's bittersweet for some people, but it was really sweet for me. I don't know if you remember me saying that.
Yes.
So I got a lot of things done that I procrastinated on for a long time that kept me kind of stagnant in my old life, even though I wanted to change. It was just this thing I was lacking, education-wise, experience-wise, mental health-wise. A lot of things needed to be fixed in order for me to move forward. So once those things started to move forward, I started to reach out. My food business was solely building on its own just from people and you know, hearsay. So I was like, you know, I have to jump on that. So I started to take different classes, anything honestly during the pandemic that was going to keep me busy so I don't be idle and get into other stuff that I probably don't want to do. So I just started taking free courses everywhere. And then the main thing I wanted to do was a food course of some sort, but the few that I had originally started got shut down because of COVID. So it was just like a savior finding Rock, because I found it by accident on Facebook in this job group I was in. And I emailed Orlando, and the rest is history. I'm here.
Excellent. So what did you think of the Miss Mack Enterprises hospitality training?
I think it is amazing, very informative, a must-have, a must-do. It's if you don't know how to deal with people, this is definitely the place. That would be the place to start, because it definitely gives you the fundamentals and the support. You know, it's not like just you have to do it like this and this is what's done. This is what we can do based on yourself. You know, you can find yourself in that program rather than just like a book and it's a play-by-play. It's actually teaching you how to be a better you in that business.
Oh, I'm glad you said that, teach you how to be a better you. I love that. Well, anyways, everyone, this is our last minute here. I'm so grateful that Deandra took our courses, has launched her business successfully. You guys see her logo behind you. Make sure you follow her and me on Instagram. You can follow Deandra on Instagram at Dawn, DON Juice. And you can also follow me at Miss MISS Mack MACK Enterprises, ENTERPRISES. And please do not think that just because we're based here in New York, we can get on a plane and we can come to you and offer the same training, or we can also provide it virtually in English, Spanish, Chinese, and Tagalog. All right, you guys have a great one. And thank you so much, Social Gastronomic Movement, for giving this topic a voice.
Thank you guys
Thank
for
you so
listening.
much. Diandra, thank you for sharing your story. And now I can revert that we're two powerhouses back in New York. Thank you so much. And I think every country needs a Miss Mack, a Cookmaster, and a Clink Charity. I've been seeing the chat very active. We need that in our country. So let's hope this sparked some inspiration. Now we're going to pass to the next section of our session today. We're going to actually break into breakout rooms. There will be a Spanish-speaking breakout rooms led by Cookmaster. And as we heard the inspirational story from Diandra, there will also be graduates from the Clink Charity in the UK breakout room. So with no further ado, Joy is going to explain very quickly the logistics of the breakout rooms, and then we'll see you in the little rooms and later back in the room.
Yes, thank you so much, Nikki. So we are going to have 30 minutes inside of this breakout rooms to discuss themes that were suggested by our speakers. And we have one focusing in the United States, one for UK, and one for Argentina. I'm opening all rooms right now. We already have assigned the speakers in this room, in those rooms, and you can choose whatever you want to participate. So you just need to choose between the three options, and we'll see you in the breakout rooms. I see that everyone is going into USA, but if you scroll a little bit down, you can find UK and Argentina as well. So please join all of the groups.
Para las personas que hablan español, aquí deben estar viendo una pantalla, una pequeña ventana emergente, o tal vez en las opciones de herramientas en la barra inferior de su Zoom. Pueden ver la sección de grupos en la que se pueden unir a el grupo de Argentina, que si hacen scroll un poquito hacia abajo pueden ver. Tenemos 3 grupos: Estados Unidos, UK, London, con Christopher Moore, y Argentina. Entonces, si tienen algún problema uniéndose, porfa, no duden en decirnos, pueden abrir sus micrófonos, nos comentan y los podemos ubicar en caso de que no encuentren su sala.
Gracias. Thank you, Ali. Ali, I'll take advantage that you're here, and I'll leave you here taking care of the rooms. I think you can have access to the breakout rooms as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
then I'll join Argentina just to see how it's going there.
Okay, I'll stay here. Let me know if you need anything.
Okay, thank you.
Interviews like that, then they'll be met at the gate and then supported for as long as it takes to help them reintroduce back into society. And we were talking about the Clink model, and is it exclusive to catering? And the answer is most certainly not. The idea of linking the inside to the outside really does work. And all you would need to do in your country is look for an industry that has a skills shortage and then provide that skilled training within the prison. And then you've got a credible solution to the skills shortage in your country, but also you're training and equipping prisoners to come out into society and be a contribution. So that was a quick summary of what we've discussed. I put in our chat at the bottom, our website address. I'll put my email address up as well. So if anyone has any questions or would like to get in touch, please don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you.
Amazing, Chris. Thank you so much. Ahora vamos con Nicolás y también tendremos la traducción de Fernando. Entonces, Nicolás, si puedes darnos algunos puntos que discutieron en lo que quieres compartir.
Hola, se me escucha ahí, ¿no? Perfecto.
Sí.
A nosotros lo que nos llamó la atención en el grupo, entre varias cosas, estábamos México, Brasil, Argentina, y no sé si me olvido algún país más.
Y Colombia.
Ah, y Colombia.
No se puede olvidar. Gracias.
Ahí Fernando va a traducir.
What called our attention in our group was what there were people from countries such as Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, and Colombia.
Si bien hay bastantes diferencias entre lo que puede pasar en Europa, lo que puede pasar en Estados Unidos, lo que puede pasar en la sociedad latinoamericana, vemos muchas similitudes en cuanto a las estadísticas y en cuanto a la forma de encarar el problema de integración, es decir, la forma de sistematizar el proceso de inclusión social y laboral que hace falta para poder combatir la inequidad que hay en el tratamiento de la población carcelaria.
As we see that in Europe, the USA, and the Latin American society have particular characteristics. We see similarities in what the people see in the attitudes or the activities that the governments do to integrate those people who live in prison into the society or into work in order to fight against the inequity in the population.
Y también nos parece necesario, para poder trabajar en la mejora de estos sistemas de inclusión, poder entender el funcionamiento que hay en los diferentes países y continentes, ver cuáles son esas similitudes para replicarlas, ¿no es cierto?, en cada uno de los países. De esa manera, dar mayor visibilidad a los programas de gobierno y a las iniciativas privadas que ya existen para poder escalar esas iniciativas a un nivel más alto, que sea una solución real a la cantidad de población, ¿no es cierto?
So we see that it's necessary that inclusion understands how it works in several countries and continents. And we have to focus on the similarities to check what are these programs of the governments and the possibilities of the society to improve those initiatives to solve those social problems.
Sí, finalmente aplaudimos la iniciativa de este movimiento de gastronomía social porque creemos que a través de estos espacios y de esta conexión que sucede a nivel global es parte de la solución a este y otros tantos problemas que existen a nivel global. Así que gracias a todos el equipo de gastronomía social.
Gracias, Nicolas. Well, I think I'll translate myself, but Nicolas was actually appreciating this space for us to come together, and that this is a big part of the solution actually for us to find those common grounds and be able to replicate such amazing projects in other places as well. And I appreciate so much your participation. Thank you, Nicholas. Now let's go with Miss Adrian so we can wrap up our session.
Hello, everyone. So it was great. Our breakout session, we talked a lot about mental health and what it is to make sure that when we are giving people formally, returning citizens employment opportunities, to be mindful of the mental health that people are in. Some of the challenges our breakout session members shared was connecting people to the existing resources in their cities, in their communities. And that one of the young ladies said that she's currently in Madrid, but lives in Brazil, is working with social gastronomic movement, and shared that, you can notice that in Brazil, people are connected. They know where the programs are. They know about what's happening. Where in Los Angeles, where she is, and of course here in New York too, so I'm assuming it's across the country, is that people do not know where these programs are. They don't know where to get the resources and support. And so that's something that we need to work on here in the United States, is have a much more, much better way of communicating and connecting the residents, the community, the participants to these fantastic resources that are offered with workforce development, mental health, training, things of that sort. So that's pretty much what we discussed, it's important to provide the hospitality training and get people the jobs, but also to be mindful of the mental health that people are in once they get released. We also touched a little bit about the quality of food in prisons as well, that they should have farm to table, that they should be able to eat healthy. And so that's, obviously another discussion, but it's good to know that, what Deandra brought up was that if you eat healthy food, your mind is much better, it's much healthier, and you can make better decisions. And it's true. So that's what we talked about in our breakout room.
That's amazing.
Before I jump off, I want to say goodbye and thank you to everyone. And if you are interested in having a hospitality training, again, it can be done virtually. We could do entry level all the way up to food entrepreneurship programming. Please feel free to reach out to me, and I'm excited to work with you and your team.
Thank you so much, Adrian. It's a pleasure for us to have you in the movement. And I actually wanted to close this space, first of all, thanking all of the work that you put into it, and actually the inspiration and just all of the amazing learns that we had with you today. And I wanted to invite everyone from this call as well, if you would like to continue this conversation, understand a little bit more, how can you be a part of the solution as well, please feel free to join the movement. You can write me, or you can use our QR code on this page so you can become a member. And just that, I'm full of appreciation. Thank you very much. And I hope that was an inspiring conversation for the rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you. Very nice to meet you.